Hey guys, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be spilling the tea on my current relationship status. It's gonna be a long one, so grab a snack. Our last update was super long ago and a lot has happened since then, so I thought I'd give you guys a little update. I honestly haven't been in a serious relationship in such a long time, and like dating has been a little weird for me, but I have gone on a few dates with a few different people, so we're gonna talk about it. Going in like chronological order, the first person that I'm gonna speak about is this guy that I met at my previous workplace. We're gonna nickname him K. Kay and I met at my old workplace after I had submitted my resignation. So I had about 2 weeks left and that's when I met him. And something in me was triggered. I suddenly have this huge amount of courage and I just went up to him, had a little bit of chit chat, and I got his number. Or he got my number, and then we just kind of started texting here and there. He would call me. Very soon after, we planned our first date. At the time, I was working mainly on weekdays, so my weekends were free. So our first date was planned for that Saturday. So I had only been a few days of us talking, and then we were supposed to meet up on Saturday, right? Friday night comes around and I still hear nothing from this guy about tomorrow's plans, and I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on? I spoke to my friends and they had actually planned to go to this arcade on Saturday. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if this man doesn't plan a date, maybe we could just join with my friends for like a casual date. Honestly, my first mistake. I hate arcade, and I don't know what was in me, what got me into suggesting it, but he was down to go because this man didn't plan. So the day of the arcade comes and I still hear nothing from this man about when he's gonna come pick me up. All I know is that we're meeting my friends there at like 1-ish or something like that. He was just somehow gonna coordinate picking me up and driving us there, which is about like 45 to an hour away. So I wake up really early to get ready and I still have no idea when this guy's coming. So I thought it'd be cute for me to get breakfast for us, right? I go down to my local Dunkin', I grab myself and him my favorite matcha latte with oat milk because I wasn't sure if like he's lactose intolerant like I am. So just in case, I got us oat milk, then also grabbed us a few goodies for the road. Like I grabbed hash browns and I think I had like a new avocado toast that they were just coming out with. Mind you, all the food was like hot and ready when I got it, but because I had no idea when the hell this man was coming to pick me up, I had to stick the shit in my oven and warm it at 200 degrees because I didn't know when he was coming. Fast forward, he comes to pick me up and I'm struggling to get in the car with all of these things that I'm holding, 2 drinks and 2 baggies of food. Kay did not even offer to like open a door for me or anything. And I get it, it's our first date, not even an official like one-on-one date, so I didn't expect too much from him, but I did expect some level of like gratitude because I did get us breakfast. So I get in the car and then this man is already drinking an energy drink. So in my head I'm like, oh, maybe he's just like coming out from the gym or whatever, but logically speaking, you should still eat, right? We start driving and I start eating and I offered it to him. I'm like, hey, you know, I got us a matcha latte, like do you want to drink anything, do you want anything to eat? And he's like,
no thanks, I'm fine.
Okay. I felt kind of taken back, so I played it off and I'm like, oh, are you sure? Like I got his hash browns and there's an avocado toast in there if you want something lighter. And he's just refusing, which again, like, okay, maybe you don't want to eat, maybe you're not a breakfast person. But then he hits me with a,
don't do this again.
and I'm like, do what again? In my head, I'm like, even if somebody gets you something and like you don't like it or you don't want to eat it, I still feel like it's only polite to like take a nibble or like entertain it for a little bit, and then after the fact say, hey, like I actually don't do breakfast, or like you don't have to spend time to like get us breakfast or something like that. I just felt like it was so rude how he approached me, and that caught me off guard because I thought that was rude. So like I said, we are driving to the arcade and I remember this was like in the middle of summer because I had quit my job like late June. So this is when New York City gets like super hot, and this man's car was under construction, so we literally had no AC. We were driving with the windows rolled down and I was suffocating in the freaking car. That first date kind of went really well. It did start awkward at first because like I'm not an arcade person, so I didn't know what the fuck I was doing there, and it was also when we were trying to like get to know each other, so there were a few instances of like awkward silence silence, but I just kind of pretended it didn't happen. And overall, it was a really good day. We ended up getting dinner with my friends as well, and that is when we started holding hands, which I don't think you guys know this about me, but I am very into like physical touch. Like physical touch is my #1 love language. Plus the fact I haven't seen anyone since me and my ex broke up like 2-3-ish years ago at this point, so I thought I was in love. We went on a couple more dates. I actually met a bunch of his friends and he pretty much met all of my friends, and the vibes are just really good. Like he is a really like charismatic person, or like charming person. Like he could really carry a conversation and be the life of a party. Like he's that type of person. I am more of like an introvert, which is why I feel like I was so attracted to him, but this man had so many icks and red flags. First of all, he is a severe gym rat. Nothing wrong with gym rats, but he would always make comments like, oh, I wish you would go to the gym with me, I want to work out with you. And like at first I thought it was very cute until he kept making it a point to like drag me to the gym, and then I was like, okay, like what is actually going on? Like why do you keep saying this? And he flat out told me,
I wish you looked like your old Instagram.
I'm like flabbergasted. I did gain a little bit of weight over pandemic, not gonna lie. I don't look exactly like I do in my old Instagram photos, but I was underweight in those photos. Like I literally had a borderline eating disorder, so him bringing that up really triggered me, and I overlooked it because yes, I do look really good in those photos. I was so snatched, my waist was so thin, but at the same time I had no curve. I also had a lot of bad memories tied to those photos, so him bringing it up constantly just made me feel so shitty about myself. I was so ready to try love again that I just overlooked this whole red flag. It probably also doesn't help that I'm slightly colorblind as well. Honestly, another red flag is that he told me that he loves to solo travel, and like I think it's a really good idea until I met him, because this guy loves solo traveling for the non-commitment part. Like to him it's all about being spontaneous, but at the same time it also screams irresponsibility. His old job allowed him to just leave on vacation whenever he wanted to, so he took that freedom and really ran with it. And he always encouraged me to do a solo traveling to like find out about myself, but honestly I have done enough self-reflecting to know about myself and like my needs and wants and what I like in a future partner. Him on the other hand, even with all the solo traveling that he's done, is still so ungrounded. It is unbelievable. I don't know who the hell this man has been dating for all these years, but he is one of the most immature people that I have ever met in my life. Mind you, he is also older by like 5 years. One of the last straws that I had with him was when I asked him about his 5-year plan, and nowhere in the 5-year plan did he mention that he wanted to settle down or like have a family or like buy a house or anything along my goals. That was when I knew that he wasn't for me, because this guy is just still out here solo traveling to this damn day, and it's been like 3 years since then. Honestly, I don't know what the hell I saw in him, but it clearly was not what I wanted in a partner. Our last date was one of the funniest things. We didn't even plan for it to be our last date, but what he did during that date actually solidified it as our last date. So as per usual, he asked me to go hang out and he doesn't know where to go, so I'm the one planning our date again. And ladies, if he wanted to, he really would. Like honestly, if he really likes you like that, he would be the one planning all the dates. And if he's really not sure about you, then he doesn't really care about what the fuck you guys are doing, therefore he won't plan, which is what this guy was doing. So he picks me up for dinner and doesn't know where we're going, so I suggest, hey, let's get Vietnamese at my favorite place in Chinatown. So we drive over to Chinatown, sit down, I order my usual pho, and he gets an extra plate of meat on the side, which he then eats raw. Very alarming, but he likes his meat raw, each to their own. As we're finishing up dinner, he's looking at what to do next, and he found that Dumbo actually has like these movie nights that they do throughout the summer. So we're driving back to Dumbo now, and as soon as we cross the bridge into Dumbo, he goes,
I need to shit.
at this point in our relationship, I don't think we're that comfortable with each other yet, but apparently he is. So he pulls us over into his old office so he could take a shit, and he literally left me in his car. I'm sitting in there alone for 30 minutes while he's blowing up the toilet, and that's when I knew I no longer want to see this man. Moving along to the next guy. I met him when I was working at my new job. I'm gonna nickname him L for loser. So L is new to the city and he had just moved here about like 3 months before I met him. He's still trying to navigate through his life as a New Yorker. He actually comes from like a middle state, I forgot where. Yeah, New York City like really wowed him and he really thought he made it out here without knowing that we are actually brutal. Asked me to go out on a date or like a hangout, he called it. So I'm taking it as a hangout, like we're just two friends meeting up for lunch or whatever. And of course, because he's new, he doesn't know where to go, so I suggest my local spot, which is a Thai restaurant. I love Thai food. This is my first time ever like meeting him in person and I need some liquid courage. So we sit down, we order entrees, and I get myself a little lychee martini. He doesn't know what to order, so he's like, same. The vibes were alright. Like I thought he was a little weird because like, you know, middle state and all. Bumblefuck nowhere. He literally was just talking about like his hometown the entire time that we were eating, which is fine. I'm just trying to get to know him anyways, right? At this point, we're like all finished with our food and the restaurant staff was just like loitering around because we didn't have anywhere else to go to like sit down and talk out. So I went to order another martini just so that we could like buy some time and sit there for a little longer before the restaurant really kicks us out. After the drink is done, the bill comes and I put my card down to pay. He also takes out his wallet, but I was quicker. I didn't mind paying for it because it was my spot that I recommended us, and I also ordered more drinks than he did, which drove up the bill. So I thought as a responsible person, I'll just take care of the bill. It wasn't that much anyways. I think it was like 75, 80 or so. When we got home, this man calls me to review our hangout, and what he said like really fucking triggered me. He said,
"You ordered too many drinks and moving forward I want to limit us to 1 drink per dinner."
And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening here? And the thing is, like, he didn't even pay for this. Then he goes on to explain how expensive it is to order drinks versus entrees, which I get it. Like, prices in New York City are a little outrageous sometimes, but I paid for that lunch and I wasn't even complaining. That's when I know he was stingy about money. And like, if you're broke, just say that. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I actually would prefer if we could do more affordable dinner. And at the same time, if you can't afford me, you could just say that. I'm not saying I'm expensive, and I'm also not saying that I need extravagant dinners all the time, but dating in New York City is expensive. Dinners on average are about $50 a person, so you need to be aware of this when you're taking somebody out. You know what that sounds like to me? Poor planning. For our second date, I brought him to my favorite Korean stew place. This place is actually super affordable, and I kind of got the idea that he's stingy about money, but what irked me is that when the bill came, this man was straight up like,
"Wow, the bill is so cheap," or "Wow, it's actually so cheap here,"
something along the lines of that. And it really pisses me off because I don't know how he was raised, but in my family, we never talk about a bill at the restaurant. Even if it's cheap, even if it's good or not good, we always would come home and talk about it in a closed environment and not in front of the freaking restaurant staff. So that would piss me off every time he would comment on it in public. I did eventually bring it up in one of our conversations and he didn't have anything to rebuttal, but he just kept doing it, and that just made me feel so embarrassed. Another thing that really irks me about him as a person is that he is honestly such a lost puppy. Like, I don't know how he was living in a dorm by himself, but this man literally did not look like he can take care of himself. Like, he didn't know what to do with himself in public. Like, for example, this man is like a little over 6 feet. I want to say he's 6'1" or 6'2", and he insisted that we go shopping at Soho on a weekend. And if you know, you know, you never go to Soho on a weekend, especially if it's a holiday around the corner. You know, everybody and their moms are going to be on the street, and if you are a person who does not like crowds, avoid at all costs. I did try to warn him, but he insisted that we go, so I'm like, okay, let's go. While we're navigating through the crowd, I literally had the biggest ick. Sometimes we will hold hands when it's not too crowded, but when it does get crowded, we single file as you normally would. So he would take the lead and I'm following behind him, and I literally watched this man fold. I kid you not. Imagine a 6'2" person, really broad shoulders, and as he's going through a sea of people, he goes,
"Are you fucking kidding me?"
That was literally such a turn off, and I wanted to go home after that. We had plans to go to dinner after the shopping, but I turned to him at the end of the corner and I say, hey, I actually have to go home, it's a family emergency, and I dipped the fuck out of there because I was just so turned off by this, and I felt so embarrassed sitting next to him or even being associated with him. This is not normal New York City behavior. I don't know what it is about me and a bad taste in men, but this is just the cherry on top. We do go on a few more dates after that. There's just so many things wrong with this man. It is crazy. Like, for example, I was a pescatarian at this time when I met him, so I don't eat meat, right? He had always mentioned how he loved Chinese hot pot, or like how we do hot pot with all the variety of meats and stuff like that. So for my birthday, he suggested that we go to fucking hot pot. He justified saying that it is perfect for the cold weather and he's been wanting to try it for a while now. In my head, I'm thinking the freaking hot pot restaurant that you chose is free on my birthday. Like, as a birthday girl going there, it's fucking free. Like, how cheap can you get? And I can't even have hot pot because there aren't that many meatless options. So you're gonna have me sit there only eating lettuce the entire time on my birthday? I felt like he didn't even consider that I was a pescatarian, and I was really upset because it was for my birthday apparently, and he didn't even give me an ounce of thought. He ended up choosing another vegan restaurant, a vegan Korean place, and it's really traditional, so you take off your shoes when you enter. It was actually really freaking nice. I enjoyed that dinner a lot. After dinner, he pays whatever. We're going on a short little walk to get dessert, and he asked,
hey, can I hold your hand?
And I was not feeling the vibe. Like, dinner was good, but company wasn't. So I was a little hesitant, and I said, oh no, like, I'm not really feeling it right now. And he blows up in my face. He literally goes,
oh, I thought if I paid for dinner, I would at least have some physical intimacy.
Are you fucking kidding me? You want physical intimacy because you paid for dinner. I will happily Venmo you my entire share and yours to shut the fuck up right now. You seriously did not just tell me that. We went on a couple more dates after that. I don't know why the fuck I keep giving him a chance. I think I was just so desperate for love, or like to be loved and taken care of, that I'm just willing to try anything at this point. So we actually called it quits towards Christmas. It was like a post-Christmas lunch is when our last date happened. We went to a Japanese restaurant and we ordered sushi. We ordered like 4 rolls, and everything is to be shared. So there is like this huge long plate, and they have placed the 4 rows 2 by 2. So there's 2 rolls in front of me, 2 rolls in front of him, and I get it, they're all different rolls. I started picking at the sushi, and I pick up a piece and I eat it, and without saying anything, he picks the piece right next to the piece that I just chose. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, it's such an inconvenience for him to like reach over and grab the piece that was right next to my piece. I'm gonna draw a diagram because it's not making sense right now, but essentially he was eating the piece that's right next to every piece that I picked up. It was just so weird. I tested it a few more times. Like, I would pick from the middle of a row and he will follow suit, and I was just like, what the fuck? Now for the part that I'm sure all of us are dying to hear about, what happened to the guy that I was seeing last year? I did a video on that last year, going in depth on like our whole history and stuff like that. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I'll leave it down below as well as on top. But long story short, me and him are college friends. We've always had like this kind of chemistry. Like, it's not sexual tension or anything like that. Like, we were both in happy relationships, but it's kind of like a comfortable, you get me type of chemistry. Like, we don't have to voice each other our thoughts, and we just get each other, if you know what I mean. So that date that I was getting ready for is actually such a intimate experience. I've never had anything like it. It was a private dining experience with a Michelin star chef. They rented out a Soho studio, and it was an open kitchen concept with about, I want to say, 6 tables or so. So it was a really small, quiet dinner. Leading up to the dinner, I was super nervous because I've never like been in any situation like this. But when I saw him, my jaw was on the ground because of how good and well dressed this man looked. He was in a button-up shirt with slacks, and like, I love men in uniform. I love business casual. He had dress shoes on, and he just looked so good. I wish I had a picture of us. I don't know why I turned it down, but I think we looked fantastic together. When I say we get each other, an example of that is when we walked into the venue, we were the first one to arrive, therefore we could choose wherever we wanted to sit. It is an open kitchen concept, so all the tables were kind of like turned towards the kitchen, which is in the middle of the room, and he had chose to sit in the the center left in a corner, which was the exact table that I was eyeing. When we sat down, I told him that I really liked this table, and he just said, yeah, I know, because we like to people watch. This is the best seat in the house. I'm just flabbergasted. Like, this man knows me so well. With this dinner, it is paired with wine. So every course, it will bring out a different type of wine. We're not huge drinkers, so him and I are pretty slow with finishing our glasses. We are a few courses in, and the dinner so far has been pretty platonic. We're just making small talk here and there. In the middle of the service, he grabs my hand and holds it under the table on his lap, and like, I was in love. Literally, that is like the most K-drama shit I've ever experienced, and like, I was in love. Dinner goes by well. He holds my hand every time we're not actively eating, and I literally, my heart melted in his hand. After dinner, we get to chit chat with the chef, and we were the last ones to leave, but he didn't want to go home yet, so we had walked to a nearby park and we just sat there and chilled until like 3 a.m. The date went by so well that we actually saw each other more actively, like 2 times to 3 times a week, and this continued for a couple weeks. One thing I love about us is that we can actually have a deep conversation wherever we are. Like, somehow we just ended up talking about life and like the things we want, our goals, our ambitions, our plans, and everything is just going so well. I think we are so cute together. He actually asked if we are exclusive, as in, are we exclusively seeing each other? And I said yes, I'm not really seeing anybody else. And he also said that I don't really have time for anybody else, so you are like the only girl I'm talking to right now. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, we're getting pretty serious now if we're actively seeing each other exclusively. In the last video, I also mentioned that there is another person in our trio group. So she is actually a really good friend of ours, and we have always hung out as a trio. So he brought up, hey, how should we tell her that like we're together? And I'm just here like, oh, I don't want to have that conversation. Like, I don't know what to say. And I feel like she kind of knows that we're together, like we're a thing, because of just like the chemistry between us. Like, it's really obvious, I feel like. And he goes, oh, don't worry, like if it does come down to that day, like I'll tell her, like you don't have to be embarrassed or anything. So I'm like, okay, like we are actually doing this thing. Then shortly after that, we stopped seeing each other. Honestly, I'm not even sure when or like how this happened, but shortly after that, things got quite busy for the both of us. Like, he was transitioning into a new manager role, and they were having him work overtime because they were understaffed. So we just kind of like stopped seeing each other. I know that isn't an update that we were all hoping for. Me neither. And that pretty much sums up how my life is. Like, I could literally have everything in my hands in one day. Everything is going great, and then the next, I wouldn't even know what hit me, and my world would be like upside down, completely different, 360 change. To this day, I still don't know what I did wrong, or like even if there is anything wrong. Don't know if he changed his mind. I don't know if it's just that he's so busy. Honestly, I stopped wondering about it a while ago, because I feel like if he's the right person and if it's the right time, it will happen. And therefore, if it's not happening, it just means that he's not the right person. I have no bad feeling toward him whatsoever. I still love him to death. We are still really good friends. I wish him nothing but the best. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chit chat get ready with me. Honestly, I don't even know where the hell I was going with this video to begin with, but I'm happy that you guys had a little story time. I'm gonna leave everything that's on my face down below so you guys can check it out, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.